Good evening and welcome to another live show of the Magpie Circle podcast, joined tonight by Leslie Brad and Chloe Page. And delighted to say we are still in the FA Cup. We'll be discussing reaction and your thoughts and views from the performance in Rochdale yesterday for a 1-1 draw. There's the small matter of Neal Ardley returning to Meadow Lane with Solihull Moors in the club's special £5 promotional game, hoping for a 10,000 gate on Saturday. Should be a cracker. Kieran Brennan has today been recalled by Sheffield Wednesday back on from his loan spell with Notts. And I also want to talk tonight about Kel Roberts. Kel's undoubtedly having a tough time last few games. We've been having a few of our Notts County internet numpties. Amazing how 1 week is going to be the most expensive sale from the National League since Jamie Vardy at £1 million. And the next people saying he's not good enough to be in our team. Let's get real and let's give Kel some support through what is clearly a difficult time for him. All this and more, your thoughts and views, as always, on the Magpie Circle show. We'll come to Chloe in a minute. Leslie Brad, it's your debut as a 74-year-old as a Magpie Circle pundit. How are you, my friend?
Nearly recovered, let's put it that way. Been a very, very busy weekend. My actual birthday on Friday was a quiet day, but my two sons, Simon and Tim, decided that they would plot a special event for me. And that special event was travelling up to York City to watch Buxton in the FA Cup. Obviously, Buxton is my hometown. I often talk about it. My younger days, I was both cup games that are talked about 58 years ago, the Barrow and the Crooktown ones. And I was in that crowd against Crooktown, nearly 4,000 at Buxton. So I've been delighted that they're doing so well this season, undefeated. So when Tim said we're on our way, it was, it was great. Little did I know that it included possibly consuming quite a large amount of alcohol before, and I did slow off after the game, but it was a wonderful day out, and then it was also wonderful yesterday to go to Rochdale and see that performance as well.
We'll come a bit more on your birthday celebrations, but on behalf of all of us and all the flock at the Magpie Circle, a very, very happy 74th birthday. Life is clearly treating you very well, Les. And Chloe, welcome, Chloe. You're up in Manchester, I believe, and almost like a home game for you at Rochdale yesterday.
Yeah, so it wasn't too far for me. So I travelled up with my dad and my granddad in the car, and then luckily they dropped me off because it would have been a bit of a nightmare to get back to mine. Considering it was a Sunday and the kind of trains were a bit all over the place. So luckily I got dropped off. But yeah, it's not too far from me. So I was just glad to have one that was up here and not down south.
Plenty of interaction already with our regular members of our flock. Chris Gosling, evening all, Ian Birchinall likewise. Sharfeetab, where are Mansfield hiding in the draw? I heard they are worried about us, I think it's probably fair to say, although they did get a very, very good result at Sunderland, didn't they? That's both of us have won at Sunderland in the last decade or so in the FA Cup. Ian Birchinall, great result, although couldn't get yesterday. So get to see us beat them in the replay, he hopes. Chris Gosling, I detect a hint of sarcasm. I'm sure you got the gist of it from the extended highlights, Ian. There has been some debate about that with Notts and Rochdale having been asked to move the game, in theory, for some extended highlights on the BBC, and which weren't possibly too extended, I think it's fair to say. Gary Smithhurst didn't make the game as I was at West Ham Liverpool, but sounds like we more than held our own. Sharfeetab was going to come on to this, just to confirm this. Chesterfield through to the second round means our game away at theirs in the league gets moved. That's quite right. So the scheduled big game with Chesterfield for the Saturday will not definitely be now taking place, irrespective of whether we get through or not. That replay, just to confirm, is not this week. It's next Tuesday, provisionally, subject to, if we were chosen as a televised replay game, it could move from the scheduled Tuesday. Okay, let's get some thoughts. You were both there on Saturday. Sunday, even. Let's start with Chloe. Chloe, what were your thoughts? What were your thoughts on yesterday's performance?
Exactly what someone's just said. We held our own more than. The first half, I think we came out with the better chances. I think all game it was quite even possession-wise. I thought we played well in and out of possession, to be fair. They like to play football. I think Ian put it well, that we respected each other, and you could tell that. There was a couple of challenges early on. Dion got a booking very early on, and we thought, I hope this isn't going to take a turn. And then he got bought off later, but it didn't turn into anything like that. And it was just a really good game to watch. I came out with a lot of positives. We maybe got away with one at the end with the penalty, but good chances from both of us. Like I said, a very even game, and it was just a really enjoyable watch. And then I think it just said to me that we would probably survive in League Two. We didn't look out of place. It didn't really feel like much of a cup match. They could have easily be in the same league as those, or us be in the same league as them. I don't think there was too much of a difference of kind of class in that aspect. So a lot of positives, and then hopefully fancy is a little bit at home. If we can play like that away, then we can definitely do it at home. So yeah, get the replay in. Another game, like Ian said, it might do us a favour. Obviously, the Tamworth replay has kind of kick-started a really good run for us. And also to not get beat, carry on that unbeaten run into Solihull. It can only can help.
Max Seth says, really good performance. Unfortunate not to win it, in my opinion. The only thing which worries me is fitness. Some of the lads looked a little leggy, but still an excellent performance. Les, so you were at, I was going to say for a moment, Bootham Crescent, which clearly don't exist. You would have been at York City's new ground for the Buxton game, presumably. What did you make of Sunday afternoon?
Well, first of all, it was quite a shock that the ground was probably, I think, around 3 miles outside of town. We got a taxi down there, but there are regular bus routes. It's on a retail park, and it's a very nice and tidy ground also. Obviously, I travelled up with Jason, the chief executive, and I was invited into the boardroom. We were certainly well looked after, and good seats to watch the game. I think probably that is the most complete 90-minute performance I've seen from the boys all season. If I've got anything to say on a downside, and it isn't a downside, I think we've got to learn to get games won. When we're on the ascendancy and we're getting opportunities, we've somehow got to get over that line and get goals, score goals, and get the game, shall we say, secure. We've had several matches this season. I'm thinking of Halifax. I'm thinking of Woking at home, where, for 70 minutes there's only one team playing, and then we lose the game. So we that's one thing that we need to build on. But certainly, the football, the movement from back to front, little worrying at times. It got a little bit tight, I think, with the passing, and you're holding your breath a little. But that's all part of watching this team. But no, I was very happy. They weren't outplayed at any stage during the match. There wasn't long spells where they were under the cosh. So, yeah, we can hold our heads up very high with the performance yesterday.
It is interesting, and there are several comments in terms of how this Notts team right now would do in League Two. And I think unquestionably that gap seems to, certainly between the top 7 or 8 in the National League, has closed with that in the Football League Division 2. Sutton, I think many people expected they might struggle this year in the league, and they are, I think, something like top 8 and on a very, very good run of form. Difficult to tell the league club and the National League club for you, Chloe?
Yeah, absolutely. There was, like I say, there's not a lot of difference in class. Both teams, like you say, wanted to play football. I think the gap between our league and League Two is probably the top teams of League Two and the bottom teams of our league. That's where you see the difference. But all the teams in between are much of a muchness. Obviously, we've got a lot of clubs that have been relegated into our league that everybody says shouldn't be a National League club, but you are where you deserve to be because you've got relegated and it's a results business. But like you say, we've got a lot of managers and a lot of players in this league that even 3, 4, 5 years ago, you would have never have expected to drop into this league. So it's definitely very competitive. And that's how I saw the game on Sunday. But it was refreshing to see that we weren't getting outplayed, even away from home, and that we didn't drop off either. It was very end-to-end kind of all game. I think we played probably the football out of the two sides, which again was a big positive. But like Les says, we had a lot of good chances, especially in the first half. And if we'd have snuck one of them away and not be going in 1-0 down, then I absolutely think we could have won the game.
John Pearl, who's a big Port Vale fan, but listens to us every week. Good luck to Notts in the replay, and hope the draw will pair you with the Vale. Yeah, we wouldn't mind going over there. Or I think most importantly, as Chloe has mentioned, we do not seem to, on many occasions, to be drawn out first. I mean, I don't know what the stat is, but I think away draws dwarf the number of home cup draws we have had, certainly in the FA Cup, for many a year now. Aaron Porter says, I think for the most part, we looked great yesterday. But if I have to draw a point from the game, it showed us we need a new striker. Kyle is a great target man, probably the best in the league, but he's not a natural finisher. And that's the final piece for us, in my opinion. Chris Gosling, the problem is, Gary, you won't sign quality permanently unless they are a starting 11 player. No point filling the squad for the sake of it. Max Seth says, how many of the current team will get into Kevin Nolan's playoff team? Chris Gosling, a fox in the box strike partner for Woods, would make it difficult to find a place for Ruben. This is a conversation that crops up quite a bit on the show, Les. And I think you will have probably had your two Penrith at some point, but I think it's probably worth getting the views of Notts County's record club goal scorer of all time, because I think you are marginally more qualified to comment on this than the rest of our flock. Goal scoring. You mentioned earlier about killing off games. What's your take on the goal scoring capability, options, the way we're set up as it stands?
If I could just come in with a couple of comments on before I come back to that one, Paul. Yeah. It was interesting that after the Stockport Bolton game and also our game, interviews were conducted with the managers of Rochdale and Bolton, and both of the managers talked very highly of the National League, both believing that there should be more than one place automatic as well for promotion. And also the Rochdale manager, when it was put to him that it was, I can't remember the words, but it was along the lines of, we should have beaten that team from the National League today. He just says, hold on a minute, there are a lot of very good players in this team for Notts County. They're a very good side, and no easy walkover. So, in context, that now the National League for me is virtually another league on the level of the second division. So that's one side, and the strikers, we're making chances. I think I haven't spoke to Kyle. He had a very, very good chance in the first half, and it looked to me like he tried to steer that header up into the top corner. He scored quite a few goals actually by sticking him in the corner, and I thought at the time, if he goes and puts his head on that, hits it, it will find the back of the net. I don't know whether we're trying to be probably a little bit too certain to score. And it's interesting, you've also talked about Cal Roberts, you know.
Yeah, come on, yeah.
He had I love to see him just outside the box in the centre when it goes onto his left foot and he's going to curl it up into the top corner or on the... Yesterday, he let drive at it and he hit it straight at the keeper. And I think that's coming from a little bit of tightness. You know, he hasn't been scoring goals, so he's not probably quite as relaxed as he was a few weeks, months ago. And so he's trying to make more certain. How do you correct it? That's a tough one to answer. But we were through my playing days. We were pretty fortunate on that front. You know, it's something that the lads themselves are going to have to work on, and you know, whether you watch the training videos week in, week out, and they're sticking them in the corner, left, right, and centre, aren't they? The goals are coming. Whether it's just a little bit more uptight, wanted to make certain that we're going to score, I don't know. Need to probably just relax a little bit more when taking the chances. And but Kyle Wotton's certainly got a very good record. He scores 15 plus goals each season, doesn't he? And I think he could play at a higher level. It's not easy to attract a player in to the National League that's going to, well, can you guarantee it? But you're talking possibly about a striker with 20 plus goals a season, are you? It's how many goals has the lad at Stockport scored this season? I know the one at Chesterfield scoring a few goals, but they come with big reputations, and it's not easy.
I'll tell you what is different, or I think what has evolved, Les, is that in decades gone by, you would always talk about strikers hunting in pairs, a good big one, a good little one. If you look these days, there are very few teams that now set up with pairs of strikers, are there? You know, and certainly the way Ian is rotating and perming our options up front, with Ruben just sitting in behind, having more of a free role, pace down either flank. It's by and large a different approach now to getting goals, isn't it? There aren't too many teams that I can think of that have two strikers that score 15 to 20 goals a season each.
No, and in the days that I played alongside probably one of the best strikers around in the 70s, Tony Haitley. And I can well remember when we were going through a little bit of a lean patch, and we came in at half time, and it got to fisticuffs with Tony and Charlie. Tony wanted the ball delivered in a certain way, and Charlie was moaning that he wasn't. And he could have got quite nasty, but it didn't. It was calmed down. And Jimmy, as he always did, resolved situations. And on the Monday morning, we went out training. And what we worked on is that the wide men, John Nixon and Charlie Quickmore, they were asked to get in areas of the ground where they were going to deliver a cross, and that would be from the byline back to the 18-yard box, possibly a little deeper. And they were asked not to look out for a player and put it on his head. They were asked to deliver a ball either into the near post at pace or a higher ball to the far post for somebody to attack. And Jimmy turned around to both Tony and myself, and he says, I expect you two to be on the end of those, and if you don't do that, I'll find somebody that will be. So if you think about it, the winger, once he's going down that line, he's not thinking about looking, I've got to put it onto this guy's head. He's thinking about hitting a space and an area, and we've got to attack that and get on the end of it. It seemed to work for us. We didn't do too bad after that.
Plenty more comments coming in. Chris Gosling says a fox in the box strike partner for Watts would make it difficult to find a place for Ruben. There's a bit of a campaign here. What does Aaron Nemane have to do to get a start? What else have we got coming in? Aaron Porter, I don't think finding a place for Ruben will be an issue for long with the amount of scouts looking at him. I think sadly he will be gone in January. Trevor Scanlon, aka Chloe's granddad. I've discussed with Chloe on many occasions that I believe we are desperate for a poacher who can just score with a simple tap in. To Aaron Porter, God willing, I'm wrong. Ruben is an absolute machine. He's the best player. He's the last player I want to see us lose. But if someone comes in with $500,000, sound business. Chloe, where are you on the great striking debate?
I think I've said before that it's such a difficult thing to just say, we'll go and get another striker who's going to score his 20 goals on top of Wootton. I think someone's mentioned it, that no one is going to come for nothing. We've seen that we haven't got, I don't know whether budget's the right word, or we're not willing to spend as much cash as your Stockports, your Wrexhams, who just seem to be throwing money at it. We don't work like that. It doesn't seem to be. That's the way we want to go about it. So you're not going to get one of these strikers. We're not going to tempt them coming when they also know we aren't playing a system with two strikers, and they also know they're not going to be in front of Wootton. And are we willing to change our system to include another striker and maybe put Ruben on the back foot? And he won't have as much space, like someone was saying in the comments, that he would. At the minute, he's got kind of a bit of a free role, which is we're seeing the best of Ruben or the better of Ruben. He's probably still got even more improvements to make, but at the minute he's on fire and he's really impacting games. I think we spoke about a few weeks ago that he was having a bit of a spell in his performances. I think a lot of people use the word inconsistency, and I just think since then that he has been pretty much the best player every single game, week in, week out, and he's really impacting us. And you put a striker up with Wootton, you're not giving him that option to have as much of a free role. And we know the way that Ian works doesn't tend to have two strikers either. I know that we've changed formations to include putting Mitchell up there with Wootton, which is a great tactic to have, to be able to change the squad at half time or in the second half when we need to tactically change. It's great to have an option, but we're not going to have a 20-goal a season guy sat on the bench waiting for half time to come if we're losing or drawing. So I just don't think it's realistic, just the way that we're set up and the way that Ian wants to play, that we would get somebody like that. I think we've got enough goals in the side, hopefully, a few more chipping in from midfield, and then hopefully Wootton getting his 20 goals this season. He's been close for the last two. But what's promising is we're getting the chances. I imagine if we weren't getting the chances, then there would be big problems. If we were only having a couple of chances a game, we're having a lot more than that. I completely agree that we need to put them away, and that's how you finish games off. But I just... If you got a 20-goal a season man, it would be absolutely ideal, but we're not going to change our whole formation for that. And it'd also be a gamble. So I just think it's an unrealistic kind of goal to aim for. And I think we should be looking at other areas of the pitch that should be helping out with goals as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting one with the 20-goal a season striker. And Christian Dennis's name gets mentioned a lot without in any way, shape or form being wished to be disrespectful to Christian Dennis, he achieved the rather dubious distinction of being relegated out of the Football League twice in successive seasons with Chesterfield and ourselves. So just on the face of it, a 20-goal a season striker, not only does it not guarantee your promotion, it actually can lead you to be relegated. And I think it's kind of the collective way in which you play, total number of goals scored versus total number of goals conceded, that will ultimately decide where you finish in the table. I think one of the things, Les, that has kind of encouraged me with that run of 3 games against the big clubs, we played at a higher tempo. And as a result of that higher tempo, we were able to turn opposition defences more. Sometimes I think when we play a more patient possession-based build-up, it don't matter who you've got up front if your opposition has been able to line up with your 2 banks of 4 low blocks, high blocks, overhanging blocks, call them what you do in the modern era. But when defenders and midfielders are able to line up with a fair amount of time, if you can't defend, if you don't have to turn, that makes it so much easier to defend. And I'm guessing from your old days as a centre forward, you like nothing better than to be able to go into that space between the centre forward and the goalkeeper.
Absolutely. And that's what the game was about in those days. But also, going back to those matches as well, or that week, I would imagine that the pressure went off the players slightly from being under the microscope, expected to win games. All of a sudden, they're playing teams that are higher in the league than them. And so maybe the pressure's on those teams a little. So, you know, we've come out there and we've shown that we were well capable. And, you know, it could have been 3 out of 3. I felt they deserved to beat Bromley. It wasn't going to be for us that night. But it's just a wonderful week. It's very different. I'm not. I don't go down to the training ground. I know the boys are working really, really hard all of the time to create more chances. Like you've talked about, Chloe's talked about Ruben and the space that he has there. You know, and Cal's in there with space. If we had 2 up front, they couldn't do that. But if that doesn't work, we've got another plan, haven't we? You know, and Ian isn't too concerned whether he changes the game after 40 minutes or whether it's 45. It certainly doesn't leave it till the last 5 minutes, does he? And I think Mike Doyle and Ian, they're constantly talking and looking at the game and seeing whether they can improve and make changes. But no, we had a tough spell. We lost 3 on the trot, but there's not many teams that lose a goalkeeper, 3 centre halves, and the game changer. And you know, and that's what happened to us. And it was tough. And you know, we get our captain back, and touch wood, we haven't lost. Well, we haven't lost while he's been there, and we just don't. You know, this improvement is each game, and it keep moving on. So. Big game on Saturday with Neal returning with Solihull. They've had a fantastic run, haven't they? And a great result for them at Wigan on Saturday. So a big game. And like you say, I know the club are working very, very hard to get a 10,000 plus gate on Saturday. So, you know, hope the supporters get behind and they can come down and support. But it's going to be difficult for the fans to come out with 2 matches in a week again with a replay after that, isn't it? So
we'll come on to Sol in a moment. Aaron Porter says our squad is very good. Our only weak link is lack of natural goal threat. Someone like Shimanga would have been perfect for us. Colin Metcalf, a shout out to Rochdale. We went in the supporters bar at the ground and were made to feel very welcome by fans and staff. All of the staff inside and outside the club are a credit to football. Good that we were looked after properly at Rochdale. Good that we all had a very enjoyable day out. Let's go on to Kel Roberts before we focus on Solihull. So I think it's no secret Kel's He's come back from very serious injury. He's having a tough time at the minute. I think you can kind of see the frustration in the way that sometimes the harder he tries, some of the things don't come off. Unfortunately, all clubs have their numpties, don't they? Social media. I've come to the conclusion Twitter is the worst possible forum through which to discuss any rational thoughts. But I do find it very frustrating that there is a section of our supporters on social media who are now basically dishing out dogs abuse to Cal. Shouldn't be playing for us. He's not trying. Yabba 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 blah blah blah. Which clearly is a load of rubbish. These are, I suspect, the same anonymous people who say he's worth £3 million and will be playing for England in the next 3 years. But clearly, it don't help Cal. Okay, and clearly, he's finding it tough, and I think many of you would have seen the 2-hour show that one-on-one interview he did for us at the start of the season. And he bared his soul a little bit in that. And it was obvious to see that the extent of those injuries, psychologically, physically, took a very heavy toll on him. He's come through a full pre-season. There have been games where he's been outstanding. There are matches in which there are flashes of the old Cal. But I think he is a bit frustrated at the minute. And sometimes the harder you try, the harder it kind of gets for you. Chloe, where are you with Cal at the minute?
Yeah, I agree with everything that you've said. I think you can definitely tell. Well, obviously, we've had the interview with him, but even if without the interview, you can tell in the game that it's still affecting him. He seems to get a couple of knocks early on in games, and it's like it really affects him. And that maybe he started pulling out of challenges because he doesn't want to get hurt again, which is understandable. If you've come away from a bad injury, you're not going to be wanting to put tackles into, put you in the same boat as what you've just come out of. And again, like you say, I think that he looks like he's trying, and then when it doesn't come off, he's getting frustrated. We've seen him this season get booked for dissent a few times, which is showing that frustration. And again, if he's a young lad still, he's still learning. He's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders, especially coming off the last season that he had before his injury. And then, like you say, he will be on social media, so he'll be reading everything, which is not going to help with all of this added pressure anyway. And I just think that he needs to be in and around the squad. Obviously, he must be training with them, but it's just, I feel like there's a bit of the link-up play that you can kind of tell that he hasn't been starting a lot of games, where Ruben kind of knows where the players are going to be because he's been playing with them, whereas Cal is slowly coming back into the side and is still learning where everyone's going to be. Everyone's still learning where he's going to be and how he's going to play. But yeah, I just think it really is a confidence thing. I think sometimes he's trying a little bit too hard. We know what Cal's got in him, and he's that good when it comes naturally to him. Like Les said earlier, you've seen him curl them into the top corner from outside the box, and it looks so effortless and flawless. You've seen him take men on 3-4 at a time sometimes. And I think because there is this expectation of Cal, we're expecting him every time he gets the ball to be doing that. And coming back from an injury and a few knocks and a hamstring injury, these knocks are going to keep taking a toll. So hopefully he's going to have a run of games where he's fit and hopefully have more of an impact. I'm sure that's exactly what he wants. Whether that be an assist, whether that be a goal, it all helps. But I know he's very much part of the team. I mean, I can't remember who we played down at Meadow Lane, and Kyle Cameron scored. And Cal was actually running up and down because he was on the bench. And he was the first one to go and celebrate with him. So you know that the club means a lot to him, and he's not just thinking about himself. But I just think that it is definitely a confidence thing, and I just hope that builds for him, and maybe an assist or a goal is absolutely going to help that. But we all know what he's got in his locker, and we hope he can get back to his best.
Derek Flower says, we're all behind Cal. He'll come good. No need to write him off, as some morons have already done. And it's good, I will never allow this kind of platform to become some form of cesspit of morons like Notts County Mad or whatever. Anonymous numpties, firing off criticism and all the rest of it. This is all about Notts County supporters having a calm and rational debate, which we always do. So thank you to all the followers on this platform. Les, I forget the game. Cal came on, I think, as a sub. He'd not been on long. He dropped the shoulder, came in from the right-hand side, jinked his way past, left foot strike, thundered off the crossbar. Keeper never moved. Now, when things are going your way, that hits the underside of the crossbar and goes in, doesn't it? We all know Cal oozes quality. But equally, you're a former pro. We should never underestimate the importance of confidence for even the greatest of players out there, yeah?
When you're on a run, when things are going for you, match after match, you walk into that dressing room on the match day, your head is so clear, you can't wait to get out there. And whatever you do, it just is so natural. When things aren't going particularly well, and Cal has had a tough time, he's had some serious injuries that must have got into his head. Will I ever recover from this? And even the game on Sunday, he went down early on. What he also has to remember is because of his ability and the skills that he has, he's going to get kicked. And players are going out to kick him and upset him. They've seen that he's petulant. He's gone in the book, I think, 5 times this season, and for nothing more than getting angry. And it's one of he doesn't suddenly become a bad player. Cal is a top player, and I can remember I'm nowhere near in the same category as him with skill, but I remember going 10 matches without scoring a goal, and I was getting worked up so much so, trying to make everything perfect. And the goal came, it was against Fulham, and David Needham had headed the ball, and it was getting cleared off the line, and the centre half smacked it against my thigh, and it ricocheted into the net. That's the sort of thing that I think will trigger off Cal. It'll be a tap in. It won't be one of these in the far top corner. I just think it'll be a goal that maybe anybody could score, sort of thing, and then he'll calm down again and then slot into gear.
Ellie Elvey speaks very well here. Cal is young and is incredibly talented. We know what he can do and how well he can play. But when things ain't going well, us fans need to be supportive and help him rebuild his confidence. Very good, Ellie. Ian Birchner, well said, Paul. Healthy debate is good, but slagging off does no good, and especially on players' confidence. We all wish Cal all the very best. We know he will come good. If anyone has not watched the interview he gave to our platform at the start of the season, it's definitely worth watching. About 90 minutes worth, and he speaks very much from the heart and gives a real insight into some of the challenges that he has had to face on his professional football journey. We'll just square away Kieran Brennan going back from his loan spell. He's been recalled by Sheffield Wednesday today. Kieran's played several games for us. I'm not altogether surprised. I know Darren Moore, the Sheffield Wednesday manager, very well. Sheffield Wednesday had been looking to try to get him back last week to play an under-23 game against Sheffield United, but under the terms of the loan, they kind of wanted him to play him and keep him at Notts, but the terms wouldn't allow that. So I'm not entirely surprised he's gone back. We would hope, Chloe, that with players having recovered, Connell now back in as a regular. We had Alex Lacey on the bench on Saturday. There is a debate going on at the minute among some of our followers. Do you think we're sufficiently covered at the minute to not to need to move into the loan market again?
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously you don't know when injuries are going to come, and it's always a difficult thing. But when you're bringing loan players in, especially now when we've got more than enough defenders fit, I mean, we've got Chickson playing there as well on Saturday, and Brindley, who cover two of the central defender spots in a back three. And then you've also got Rawlinson and Lacey back on the bench, and then Kyle Cameron. So essentially, we've got 5 players that can play in the 3. I kind of see a nature of a loan as when we're actually getting maybe down to 3 and we've got 2 defenders injured, or whether we're getting down to 2. And that's exactly what Brennan came in for. He did a decent job for us, but of course, he's going to get recalled back when he's not getting game time. The whole point of clubs like Sheffield Wednesday wanting to loan their players out to us is for them to get games. It's not for them to train because they can train with their own clubs. So anyone that really wants to send their players out on loan, right now, they're not going to get in our squad. So I don't really see the point in going and get someone to just train with us. And then January is coming up quickly. So if we are seeing a couple of injuries coming up till Christmas, maybe that's something we can sort out in January. And then just obviously hope that we don't have a injury crisis at the back and they all come at the same time again. But hopefully we'll be okay now they've come back from injury.
Yeah, I mean, the modern world of football and the modern loan system, when players from clubs higher up the pyramid loan their younger players out to clubs further down the league structure, there are a lot of caveats that come in with that. Those of you who watched Mick Jones's special interview with us last week, it's exactly how the Jack Grealish and Callum McGregor deals were structured. If you loan someone down to a lower division club, there will be a percentage of wages that are paid. If you play that player, the percentage of wages that you pay will be less than if you don't play him. So the club is incentivized from the start to play the player. Because as you've just said, Chloe, if it's, for instance, Sheffield Wednesday or whatever, if that player is not playing, then clearly there is a limited benefit to the parent club. So loans these days are a lot more structured. It's a lot more complicated than it used to be. Right. Trevor Scanlon, your granddad's on form tonight, Chloe. A light-hearted moment, Paul, at the end of the game. Rochdale, the players came over to the fans and Jim O'Brien picked up the match ball, took it to a young lad, put his finger to his mouth to say shh, and gave it to him. I did see this on social media. Yeah, I did see this. So maybe a young fan owns an FA Cup match ball now. So keep it and treasure it, young man. Leslie, right. We've all been very good tonight, and I do not want this now to suddenly degenerate into a Neal Ardley versus Ian Birchnell debate. Again, the toxicity of Twitter and the morons and all the rest of it. The cultists in one side, the opponents in the other. This is not what we are about. Clearly, it is a big storyline that Neal Ardley is coming back to Meadow Lane for the first time with Solihull Moors, where he is doing very well. He's got the manager of the month, which can be a bit of a poison chalice. I think he got the sack from Notts about 3 weeks after he got it for us. I think if memory serves me right. Okay, so let's have a proper debate. I mean, clearly Neal is going to get a very good welcome from Notts fans. Very popular during his time here, but ultimately wasn't able to get over the finishing line. He's a very personable guy, as you and I would both know. Looking forward to Neal, Solihull coming back, hopefully a 10,000 crowd, hopefully be a game of high drama and theatre.
Yes, I think Ian Birchnall and Neal have got a lot in common. The way they turn teams out, the way that they try to get the teams playing. So it should be a very, very interesting game. Neal's gone in there and he's changed a few things, and they didn't kick off particularly brilliantly, but slowly but surely things have kicked in, and he's moved them up the league. So it's going to be a really big game. Is there just 1 point separating us at this moment? It's
I think there is.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if I see him, I'll always shake his hand and talk to him. And it was interesting that when he left the club, he put a statement to the League Managers Association that was put out publicly, and he was praising the owners of Notts County and everything about the club, which not many managers do when they've. I don't know whether he had the sack or whether his contract was coming to a close, and there was all sorts of things that just slotted in to suit everybody. Maybe I just don't know, but Neal's a good guy, and he's had promotion in the past, hasn't he? He's worked with Wimbledon on the shoestring and got them promoted. So he knows what this game's all about.
Chris Gosling says Ardley gets a fantastic reception Saturday, a warm welcome and a thank you. But come 3 o'clock, then it's all about getting behind IB and the boys. Spot on. Chris Gosling says, more importantly, 3 points takes us above them. So that is a prize worth winning. Derek Flowers, Neal will get a good reception. Chris Gosling, Ardley's statement when he left was pure class. Ian Birchnall, not cheating on you, Paul, but got the Daggers versus Salford game on. Salford just taken the lead. Oh, very good. Chloe, so where are you with the how for you are Notts County playing now? How have they evolved under Ian from when Neal was here?
Personally, I think it's a lot more attractive football. It's the type of football that gets you off your seat. And as a lot of fans, I know we've got quite a lot of so-called neutral fans or people that don't go every game. And I've even got people that I know that are very much like that who are now coming down to a lot more games, whether just because they find it more exciting football, but that's nothing to knock how Neal Ardley played. He got us playoffs twice. We all know that he stuck with us through probably our worst period that we've ever had. And for that, I think everyone will be grateful. He was just class all the way through the time that he was with us. And I think only Notts fans have got good things to say about it. And I think it's going to be very respectful. But there's definitely a difference between how Ian plays and how Neal plays. How that's going to pan out on Saturday, we'll wait and see. I know there's going to be a lot of people that are in the kind of category of they prefer Ardley's style of football. The argument is it's kind of how football should be played, and this is how it's always been played, and this is how you get out of the league, whereas Ian's gone for a little bit of a different approach. Playing out from the back, that's not something we really saw through Neal Ardley. So it's definitely going to be a bit of a mix of tactics, probably. But it's going to be an exciting game, and I'm glad to see him obviously back at Meadow Lane. But like you say, hopefully we'll be the ones taking the 3 points away. But yeah, it's going to be a great crowd, and I'm sure we'll get a great reception. So I'm really looking forward to it. But I personally, I'm enjoying the football that I'm seeing at the minute, and essentially we didn't get promoted through Ardley, so maybe we did need a bit of change of tactics, change of style of football, and maybe this is what's going to get us up.
Les, similar question. There's a certain irony. I think we'd all say that styles of football are different. We score more goals, certainly. But the irony is we're still probably very similar in the table, and results under both these managers are broadly very comparable. Where are you with the evolution and the change in style and where we are now compared to where we were in March this year?
Well, I had the opportunity in the past to talk to Neal, and I speak to Ian nowadays. Both managers wanted to play very attacking football, use every inch of the ground. It didn't always come across that way when you watched it. It doesn't with Ian sometimes. You know, you hear supporters telling players to get the ball up the field when they're probably keeping possession. It's a very fine balance between this possession game and getting the ball forward without losing it. And sometimes you have to take a chance to do that. And I think maybe we are doing that a little bit more now under Ian than maybe with Neal. So yeah, we've got different players now. We've got Taylor, who I think is doing an excellent job down the left, and the main one he's come on the right hand side like he did on Sunday. Very exciting players, and they can set up chances. So yeah, and I think they are a new group together. These lads, you know, you have to remember it's all happening during the course of this season, and the longer it goes, the better they should get for me. And because of the time they're working on the training ground, I'm sure it will get better. And yeah, where are we now from March? I think we're a better team. I enjoy watching the games better now than maybe back in March and just before that. I thought we got probably a little bit too much with the possession football, and to the detriment of whoever was playing up front. I would have felt very frustrated at in some of those games that the ball didn't come forward early enough. So yeah, and we're seeing more of Kyle Wootton in matches now. Maybe you know, we've seen balls played up to him, high balls, and he's able to win them in the air. And you know, maybe you know, there's another development of a tactic. Instead of him getting up and holding it, that he's able to flick it on and have runners gaining at the back of him, like Ruben, like Cal. Maybe that's another option. We haven't seen so much of that, have we? And Wickham, that's a tactic that Wickham have moved up 2 divisions with, haven't they? They had the big Akinfenwa and just bombed big balls up to him, and then they had pacey players running in at the back, and they got in and scored goals. So there's lots going off on the training ground that we don't hear about, we don't see too much, and it's all with a view of obviously trying to get goals. You know, Chloe's talked about Ruben and the role that he's got now and the space that he has, and you know, and you've got him and Cal in the team. You're going to play with a striker less, aren't you? And yeah, it's very difficult, but it is exciting when it works. It doesn't always work, but it is exciting to watch, definitely.
Lots of good considered posts coming in. Cyprus ref, Ardley versus IB, Hodgson versus Keegan, pragmatist versus adventurist. Both good and appropriate at the correct time. Max Seth, with all due respect to both managers, but I don't care if it's lovely passing football or Route 1 as long as we get 3 points. Me too, Derek says. Ian Birchinall. Chris Gosling replies, but given a choice, Max, you'd rather get 3 points playing attractive football. Okay, the supplementary question, and to Chloe as well, but we'll start with you, Les, because it's a bit of a killer question in a way. Do you think we are better set up and are more likely to get promoted this season than either of the 2 previous seasons, where we got to a playoff final and a playoff semi-final?
I actually thought the previous 2 seasons that
you've got
I went down to Wembley and I thought we were going to beat Harrogate. I thought we were in good vein of form and we would win. And likewise, I went down to Torquay last year and I'm thinking we're going to win this game. Yeah, we're going to go through, and then it didn't happen. Wow. It's such a difficult question because there's only one that goes up automatic. Yeah. And even in the playoffs, when you look at the 4 teams that have got promoted over the last 2 years, we talk about Sutton, we talk about Hartlepool, we talk about Harrogate. Who was the other one? Have they been teams that play scintillating football? No, I can't remember. Have any of those teams got a 20-goal a year striker? It's all hard graft and you know. So you've got teams around the scene now, the likes of Bromley, very direct. They'll get balls in the box, and maybe at this level, they work on, you know, if you throw the ball in the box, you kick the ball in the box often enough, and work on getting that second ball, that knockdown, as we saw with Woking. You know, they banged 3 goals in no time, didn't they? Just on the second ball. And we've seen how successful, you know, that has been. And you know, you've talked about Brennan going back. You know, he came in, and I think he's got a very good chance of making a very good player.
Darren Moore rates him. Darren Moore rates him. Yeah.
Yeah. Has he experienced football, the likes of playing against Woking? You know, he's an academy player at Sheffield, so they'll go on the training ground through the week and they'll pass it about. There won't be any heading, and then all of a sudden he comes up against Effiong and the ball's being thumped up there and they're going for the knockdowns. They've never seen anything like that. That isn't part of their training routine. The days are gone now where football clubs had reserve teams and youth players were in that team, players who were recovering from injury, players who were dropped trying to get better. And that's how you learn your trade. I'm not sure whether that's happening at under 23 level because they're not getting the knocks and kicks that goes on that we see in the National League. It's a different game.
Have you answered my question there, Les, or not? I'm not really sure. You've been, in parliamentary terms, you've been filibustering there, haven't you?
I find it very difficult to answer because I've tried to answer it by saying that the 4 teams that have got promoted the last 2 years haven't played football the way that we're talking about the game being played.
Yes.
I would love to see Notts County go up doing what they're doing now. I think it's the right way to go forward. Who knows, in a few years, we might not be able to head the ball. That might be banned from playing in football. And we're on the right lines. There'll be a lot of teams that won't be able to carry on if they take the players that they have that head the ball.
Stuart Edwards says, Neal Ardley did a fantastic job considering the position we were in. Notts in similar position now to when NA was here, but the football is far more enjoyable and you can see he has a plan in place. Gary Wardle, I still expect Wrexham and Stockport to come good, Grimsby and Bromley to hang around, never mind whoever will be the dark horse. Chris Gosling, the team at the top of the division has the lowest average attendance this season. There's no exact science to this division. I think we'd all agree on that. I guess it's how do we maximise our chances of getting out? Chloe, do you think we have a better chance of getting up this year than the previous 2 or not?
It's very difficult, but the only reason I'd give you a straight answer of no is because of the teams we're now facing against. I think maybe if this team had have been in Ardley's position the first season we got relegated and got playoffs, might be a different story. But we've got to consider COVID. I strongly believe the position we were in that season, if it hadn't have been cut short, whether we'd have won the league or whether we'd have gone up through playoffs, that we would have gone up that season. It's very easy to say now in hindsight, but I am so confident. I saw us away at Barrow that season and thought, this is it now. I think Harrogate and Barrow had got to play each other and a few different things, and we were coming up towards the end of the season. And I just thought we was in the informed team, and whether we would have been able to snatch the league, it might have been a little bit too much to ask for. But that few months break is what killed us, in my complete opinion. And the Harrogate game, that you could just tell that there was something that in them months that we hadn't got back. And I think everybody kind of knew that game that it wasn't going to happen. And I think that was nothing really to do with Ardley. No one would ever imagine that, look, you're not going to play football for 2 months and then you're going to have to come and play a semi-final and then a final. It's kind of like, it's never ever going to happen again. Well, hopefully not anyway. So you've got to take that into consideration. But also, you've got to consider this season that these are probably the best players, managers, and teams that you've seen in this league in a long time. So it's also difficult to then say that Ardley's team would have done well in this season. It's such a difficult circumstance. And if we can go up, exactly like Les said, that if we can go up playing like we are, fantastic, but it's going to be difficult, and nobody, in my opinion, is going to run away with it this season. I think, personally, I don't think we'll win the league. I think it's a bit of a high expectation, but I would really like to see, which again might be a high expectation, to see us grab that second or third, because I think it's really vital that you play a game less. Some argue that they want to play the extra game. Obviously, it's only one extra game with how the playoffs work in this league. But I think it's more crucial that not so much that a game less is at home, that semi-final, which you saw against Chesterfield. It was such an end-to-end game. And possibly we tipped it because we had the home advantage. Obviously, it was only our fans in the game that day. And that could be what tipped it. And then obviously we had to go away to Torquay and there weren't our fans there. Obviously it'd be a bit different this season. But that home tie is massive. So for me, if we can get that second or third spot, then we've got a very good chance, but there is a long way to go before that. But it's more difficult than saying yes or no. There's a lot of things to consider, even when Ardley was here. So gonna sit on the fence a little bit with that one.
Yeah,
one thing I'd like to add, Paul, is as well is those players now must be feeling absolutely on top of the world. To have beaten Stockport, should have got a draw with Bromley, and then who was the next game that we won? And then who did Grimsby?
Yeah,
go to Grimsby and win, massive, top of the league. And then we've played Rochdale away, the league above us. And those players will have said, we should have won today. We haven't been outplayed. Their confidence must be sky high and can't wait for the next game. So we're in a good place at this moment in time. The club, the players, the supporters, everybody's happy at this moment. We're going in the right direction. Still a lot of games to play. There are teams that's going to drop away from it. Looks like Dagenham have dropped. They were walking away at the top, weren't they? And they've dropped back now. The pressure comes on. You lose a couple of players. Yeah, it's a long season, and I'm very confident. Not sure whether it be automatic like Chloe, but I think they've got a great chance of being up there. Whether it's not automatic, but certainly playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I think, for my two penneth, that it is significantly harder this year to get a top spot than it was in the previous two seasons, and I think there are various reasons for that. I think the reality is every season that you stay in this division, the following year it gets harder. And I think sometimes our supporter base gets a little bit carried away. We only didn't go up the first season because, we weren't sure who was going to be owning it. But next season, we'll storm the division. We didn't. Ian came in March last year. Oh, don't worry, he'll get his feet under the table. Not too disappointed about Torquay. We'll storm the division next year. It don't happen like that for me. I just think it gets harder each year. Whoever is the manager, because you have two teams that come down out of the league that have parachute payments. certainly the ones that have come down while we've been around, are all decent-sized Football League clubs. And for however much we talk about our right to be a Football League club, Southend will say the same, Grimsby will say the same, Wrexham have said the same for like 12 or 13 years. We had guys on from their podcast. And I think somehow or other, there are clearly assets that we have with our supporter base, ground, and all the rest of it. You've somehow got to get those to count in your favour, not against you. Sutton haven't got any of the advantages that we have. Barrow have none of the advantages that we have in this league. That's what your cuckoo clock thinks of my diatribe, Les. That's what your cuckoo clock thinks of me, eh? Yes, that they have none of the strengths that we have, yet in setting up their group of players or formula or whatever you want to call it, they won the league. And they won the league because they deserved to. I think it's a lot harder this year. What I would like to see, and Chloe in part touched on it. I was at Barrow like you, Chloe. I'm not sure if you were there, Les. You felt there was some real momentum with Notts at that point. More momentum under Neal than probably at any other point in his 2.5 years here. We'd won something like 6 out of 7. I can't remember the exact stats. But we were starting to roll teams over. And the fact that we were a big club was kind of counting for something and intimidating the opposition. The reality is we've not other than that, we've not gone on a really big run. We've had some promising sequences with Ian this season. Then we had the 3 defeats, which clearly knocked us back a bit. I think we've won, is it 3 out of 4 now? If we can go and win the next 3 or 4 games as well and win 6 out of 7, 7 out of 8, for a start, that will put us no lower than second, yeah? And it builds momentum. But for us to have a realistic chance of top spot, we've got to win 7 or 8 out of 9 on the spin. Now, Chesterfield only lost 1 game this season, I think I'm right in saying. We've got to put a real proper run of form together, knocking teams, not 2s and 3s, 6s and 7s. And I think if we can get to that point, then I think the fact that we're a big club, we take a huge away following, teams will be intimidated the moment they walk out of Meadow Lane thinking, crikey, we could be on hiding to nothing here. Then I think you've got a real chance at top spot. And it's kind of what Paul Cox spoke about at Mansfield, where they won something ridiculous, like 19 out of the last 21 games or something to get promoted. And I think if we can get near to that kind of level of run, then I think we've got a real chance. But it has eluded us for 99% of the time since we dropped into the National League. No matter how good we as fans talk about how good our players are, our manager is, our strength, and depth of squad is, how good our ground is. You've got to convert them factors to get to the point where we're rolling teams over. And certainly, let's hope with 3 out of 4, make it 4 out of 5. I don't count the cup games. Okay, league is for me what it's about. Gary Wardle, we will fall short from time to time, but focus should be winning every game. Ian Birch and Brielli, there are so many factors that will influence us finishing top of the league. Just focus on next game for me. We've done 68 minutes. I think that's plenty for all of us, particularly when you've turned 74. Les, thank you very much indeed. So we're hoping, if we can, to get a 5-figure crowd for Saturday. Lots of things planned.
On the hospitality front, it's the first time for probably 2-3 years that they've had to open another room.
Really? Excellent.
Yeah. So all the rooms are getting very, very busy, probably be full on Saturday. So that's a big thing. Yeah, we've got former player Mike Edwards coming to do the talk as well on Saturday. So it'll be interesting to hear his thoughts. He's been involved in 1 or 2 promotion challenges with Notts, hasn't he? So, yeah, he'll be great. But also, we've for the juniors as well, we've got Roy the magician down on Saturday. He's doing back in the family enclosure, showing the youngsters a few tricks. So yeah, a lot going on on the day. But the most important thing is let's hope the players continue in this positive vein of confidence and winning and drawing matches. So it'd be very nice if we could come away with another win, like you say. There's nothing better than winning.
Chloe, you're going to be selling plenty of tickets for not just for Saturday, but of course for the replay on provisionally scheduled for Tuesday next week.
Yeah, absolutely. So lots more trips down to Nottingham for me. I'll be in the ticket office on Wednesday and Thursday this week, and then back again on Saturday. But like you said, if we can start getting this kind of winning streak going, what a better time to do it than the teams that are around us. So hopefully, like you say, it'll be a big crowd, and then hopefully another win, and just keep that momentum going.
Thank you very much, Les. Thank you very much, Chloe. And thank you to everyone who has been watching and passing comments tonight, all done in a proper structured and rational debate. Saturday's game has an awful lot of ingredients in the mix. We're hoping for a 5-figure crowd. It's only a fiver. No excuses for not coming along to the game. Les has mentioned there, hospitality, big numbers as well. The return of Neal Ardley. It's a top of the table clash. We've won 3 out of the last 4 in the league. No excuses. Get yourself down to Meadow Lane and let's see what we can all cook up in what has been, we hope, another great atmosphere. It's been noticeable in recent games. Rochdale, the 3 games we had in 7 days, Grimsby away, Stockport and Bromley. All of these matches have kind of felt like Football League occasions, not National League occasions. And I'm sure that is exactly how it is going to feel on Saturday. You know, the COP will be doing their bit, the Pavis and all of us. Let's do everything we can to help get Notts over the finishing line on Saturday. Thank you for listening and for watching, and we look forward to seeing you all next week. Take care for now. Bye-bye.